There is a moment in every person's life that changes everything. It does not look dramatic. There is no explosion, no warning, just a quiet realization. It happens when you wake up one morning, check your phone, look at your bank account, and feel something you cannot ignore anymore. Not anger, not sadness, but something heavier, something deeper. The realization that your life depends on something fragile, your job, your salary, your next paycheck. And suddenly, you understand something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. You are not in control. Because if your income stops, your life stops, your plans stop, your freedom stops, your choices disappear. And this is how millions of people live. Not free, not secure, just stable enough to survive. Tony Robbins once asked some of the greatest investors in the world a simple question. What makes someone financially free? Their answers were not complicated. They did not mention luck. They did not mention intelligence. They mentioned one thing: understanding the game. Because money is a game. And like every game, there are rules. The tragedy is that most people were never taught those rules. They were taught how to earn money, but never how to keep it, never how to grow it, never how to make it independent from their time. So they spend their lives trapped in a simple exchange. Time for money, hours for survival, days for stability, years for hope. But there is a limit to how much time you have. And that limit becomes your financial limit. This is why even hardworking people struggle, because effort alone does not create freedom. Systems create freedom. Imagine two people, both intelligent, both hardworking, both earning the same income. The first spends everything they earn. They upgrade their lifestyle every time their income increases. A better phone, a better car, a better apartment. They feel successful, but they remain dependent. The second person lives differently. They save, they invest, they delay comfort, not forever, but strategically. Years pass. Slowly, silently, something begins to change. The first person must continue working. The second person begins to own assets. Assets that generate income. Assets that grow. Assets that do not sleep. And one day, the second person reaches a point where working is no longer necessary. Not because they are lucky, but because they understood something early. Freedom is built before it is needed. Most people wait too long. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect salary, the perfect opportunity. But the perfect moment never arrives, because the secret was never timing. The secret was consistency. Small actions, repeated again and again, ignored by most, respected by few, powerful beyond imagination. Compound growth does not care about your emotions. It does not care about your fears. It only responds to time and consistency. At first, nothing seems to happen. Weeks pass, months pass, progress feels invisible. This is where most people quit. They stop because they do not see immediate results. They underestimate the process. But those who continue, those who remain patient, eventually experience something extraordinary. Acceleration, growth begins to build on growth. Momentum builds on momentum. And suddenly, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But there is another force working against most people. Fear. Fear of losing. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of uncertainty. This fear keeps them inactive. And inactivity is the most expensive decision of all. Because every year you delay investing. You lose something you can never recover. Time. Time is the most valuable asset in the financial world. More valuable than money itself. Because money can be rebuilt. Time cannot. The wealthy understand this deeply. They start early. They remain consistent. They trust the process. Not because they are fearless, but because they understand the alternative, dependence, vulnerability, limitation. They refuse to accept a future controlled by uncertainty. So they build certainty piece by piece, investment by investment, decision by decision. Another truth most people never realize is that income alone does not create wealth. There are people earning massive salaries who remain financially fragile. And there are people earning modest incomes who build powerful financial foundations. Because wealth is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you keep and how effectively you grow what you keep. Every dollar you spend is gone forever. Every dollar you invest becomes a worker, a silent employee, working day and night, without complaint, without fatigue, without limits. The wealthy focus on acquiring these workers. They build armies of assets. Assets that generate income, assets that protect them, assets that create options. Options create freedom. Freedom creates peace. Peace creates a life most people only dream about. But none of this happens overnight. It happens gradually, quietly, almost invisibly, until one day the results become undeniable. Stress decreases, confidence increases, choices expand, and life begins to feel different. Not because the world changed, but because your position inside it changed. You are no longer dependent. You are no longer fragile. You are no longer trapped. You are in control. And control is the foundation of freedom. This journey does not require perfection. It requires commitment. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to think differently from the majority, because the majority remains stuck, following patterns they never questioned, accepting limitations they never challenged, living futures they never designed. But you are different, because you are here, because you are listening, because something inside you refuses to accept a life of limitation. And that decision alone changes everything, because the moment you decide to learn, to grow, to act, you step into a different path, a path that leads not just to money, but to freedom. And freedom is the ultimate victory.